I'm Johnny Smith.
I'm Richard Porter.
And this is Smith & Sniff, a podcast in which two friends talk about cars and many other things. Hey, I was a proper European businessman yesterday, guys. Yeah. Because I went very early to the railway station and then got a train to King's Cross and then walked across the road and then went to St Pancras and then went straight through Business class to get on the Eurostar to Paris. And it was so effortless and great. And I remember, even when my eyes were itching because they were so tired, the jingles in the railway station, in foreign railway stations, are so jovial.
Oh, yes.
And also, I noticed the croissant in the business class lounge. I know this is sounding wanky, hear me out. The croissants were so bloated. They were massive. They were almost the size of an American football. You know?
Oh.
They were so
Are they
huge.
Those ones, sometimes when they're like that, I get the urge to pick one up and pretend it's a phone.
Oh, do you? That's a very dad thing to do.
I know.
So
I've never
bad.
done it. I just have an urge, because they do look like an 80s novelty phone. Do you remember in the 80s where the novelty phone business boomed and you get Garfield phones and shoe phones and phones that looked like the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand and all sorts? And it was like, I don't know where that, I suppose because no one has landline phones anymore, that market is sort of gone. Argos
catalogue used to have loads of amazing ones, and I always wanted there was a Thunderbird 2 one on its plinth about to blast off. Yeah. And I think it used to sing the theme tune to Thunderbirds. I always wanted that one. But the Garfield one, funny you should mention Garfield, because in Cornwall, they keep washing up on the beach and have done for years. You know about this?
Yes.
It's a very weird story.
So, well, basically, did a container come off a boat?
Yes, and got washed into I was going to say a cleft. I don't mean a cleft. You know, it got washed into a crevice.
Okay, a crevice? Yeah, maybe a crevice.
A large cavey crevice, and then over time, obviously the shipping container has rotted or been gashed open, or both. And just a couple of phones at a time just seem to float out. And they get washed. Yeah, because it's happened with Lego as well, and I know...
Yes, there's actually a whole Twitter account dedicated to these bits of Lego.
Yes.
That wash up on the beaches of the West Country.
Yeah, and it's amazing.
They're so deep into it, they know which Lego set these bits are likely from. So there'll be little bits of plastic ships rigging from a pirate set and things like that. And this Twitter account...
Is it Lost Lego at Sea? Is it Lost Lego?
Oh, yes, I think it is. Yeah, something like that. I was just looking up these Lego things. This was in Brittany.
What, the Garfield phones?
Yeah, since the 1980s, I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, the Irois coast in Brittany has received a supply of bright orange landline novelty phones. And it's a lost shipping container. Which I think, so I'm going to scan down this, but I remember when I read this, it got jammed in a cave, and then the tide comes in and sort of washes a few phones out at a time.
It does. I mean, it's not funny because it's pollution, but of all the things to just periodically getting washed up on the beach is a Garfield telephone, and it really dates it because Garfield was so 80s.
Yes, although he's still going, isn't he? But
I actually thought, because a few friends of mine used to have Garfield posters and pencil cases at school, and I finally got to watch Garfield. It was very anticlimactic because I genuinely thought he was a twat.
Well, he sort of is.
Well, he is. And I like cats, but I think he's a twat. I think he's an unnecessarily lazy...
Which bit of his cat-based personality do you think is the twattiest?
I think because he makes no effort and he's not even really friendly... So it's like
there's too many. Cat. I mean, this is based in reality. I like cats as well. Don't get me wrong, but they can be bellends.
They can, but I just think it gives cats a bad name. Garfield.
Whereas Snoopy was doing wonderful PR for dogs alongside him.
Wasn't Snoopy a bit of a bell? I can't remember.
No,
was he?
I don't think Snoopy. Well,
he couldn't run very well. From memory.
He couldn't run very well. I suppose you could argue he was a bit lazy because he would lie on the roof of his kennel quite a lot, which I never quite understood how that was possible because it's an apex roof.
Yeah, unless he's got that apex roof would be good if you had if you've been driving a lot and you needed to spread your shoulder blades out.
Yes, yes.
But I don't know if dogs do that. Dogs don't spend a lot of time on a laptop or sitting at an office desk, as far as I know. But so I used to have, my favourite T-shirt was a Snoopy T-shirt, funny enough. You just reminded me. And it used to say soccer on it. And it had... It's true.
Sure.
It had Snoopy heading or kicking a ball, and it said soccer across it, and it was really early 80s. It was ribbed on the edges around the neck and on the arms. And I was so proud of it. There's a photo of me somewhere, or there's several, in those summer holidays where you think that it's just boiling hot every day, every single day. Your memory is that. And I've got the shortest of shorts on, brown activity shorts. Don't know why they were brown. Don't say that. And with the Snoopy soccer T-shirt. And for ages, I don't think I knew what soccer was. I just liked the T-shirt.
Oh, it's a word for football.
It's another word for football, but I didn't really know that.
Well, you just reminded me that my brother and me sort of had like a kind of Blur versus Oasis kind of rivalry with Snoopy and Garfield.
Oh, really?
Because my brother liked Peanuts, the Snoopy cartoon in which Snoopy appears, and I like Garfield. And it's only as an adult I've realised that Peanuts has much greater depth and sophistication to it, I think. And Charlie Brown is quite not a dark character, but he's... I mean,
do you think he's depressed? I think he might have been.
He is. That's the thing. He is, I would say.
Yeah.
He's a child in a slough of despond permanently.
Yeah, he is.
And Garfield's just a fat cat that likes lasagna. I mean, Garfield, I thought when I was 8 was very funny, but I think,
oh shit, I was Garfield.
My brother likes
week.
Peanuts because of Snoopy, because he's funny, but there's more to it than that.
Well, I've just realised I was an adult Garfield this week because I've done no exercise and I've eaten 2 lasagnas. Shit.
Oh yeah. That makes you Garfield.
The change has begun, hasn't it? The change. Yeah. Oh wow. Okay.
I can't think what else does. Oh yeah, Garfield. Of course, his other shtick is that he doesn't like Mondays.
Oh, doesn't he? Well, it's because he's so incredibly lazy, and lazy people don't like Mondays. They want to pretend that it's not going to happen, but it does.
Garfield or Geldof.
So I was going to say something else about Garf. Peanuts. I've probably said it before. I'm sure we mentioned it maybe years ago when we used to make videos instead of podcasts. But that teacher in Peanuts that was actually just a trombone. Do you remember? Yeah. I found it really scary when I was a kid. I don't know why I found it sinister, but I did. And 2, if you listen to it now, it just sounds like a modified 4-cylinder engine. With like 17-year-old lad round town with just a fairly shit exhaust. It sounds like that. Yeah. So that's all it is. It's just
No, it's a fair point. I hadn't thought about that.
It's a straight pipe.
I sort of think that actually both Peanuts and Garfield are slightly misrepresented by the animated cartoon versions of themselves. The original comic strips are the sort of purists version of both.
Yeah.
But no, I think I could read more Peanuts. I think it's probably much better than Garfield. But
your brother won that battle, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't think he's still into Peanuts. To be honest, I've not asked him. He's in his 40s now. I suspect he's not as obsessed with Snoopy or Snoopy's alter ego, who wore sunglasses and was more cool.
Oh, yeah. Bloody hell, why do we remember this? I mean, people who are young and are listening to this podcast are going to be like, I don't even know who Snoopy or Garfield are. Well, what you need to know is I think they're both a bit twatty. That's the take-home. Did either of them drive a car?
No, but Snoopy had an aeroplane for some reason.
Of course he did.
Ego. He was a World War I flying ace. For some reason or other.
Was it a biplane?
I don't remember the details. Or was it... Hang on. What was the little bird called?
Oh, the Tweety, Twitter.
Twatto or something. Anyway, did he have a little plane? I can't remember. No, he's a bird. He can fly unaided.
Yeah, but he might... No, I think he had very short wings because he was like a chick. So maybe he couldn't fly, hence why he bought an aeroplane instead. So I went on the Eurostar. I went over to Paris, and I can't tell you what I was doing, but I.
Oh, can you not?
Well, I probably can't. And I was on the Star, and it was great. Honestly,
no.
What?
Don't say on the Star.
Am I not? I was riding the Star. Not allowed to say that.
No. I mean, it's up to you if you want to go down that path. I just can't endorse it.
Okay, so I was riding the Eurostar, and I inadvertently got the job of chaperoning, like a Peli case, like an armoured case, with European Car of the Year trophy inside it. Which I thought was a joke at first, and I realised it actually was real. I undid it and had a look. When we got a connection from the railway station to where we were going on one of these coaches with bad fabric seats, I strapped it in because I thought if we have to do an emergency stop, the driver of the coach is going to get he's going to get shooed by this huge trophy case, and it was gigantic. So I strapped it in. But when we were on the bus, I got a little bit distracted because the bus had a little plaque on the dashboard. You know where the microphone is for the tour guide, right down by the door?
Yeah.
I'm just digging it up on my phone because I took a short video of it, which I'll share with Patreons. And the coach had a very, very crap name. Oh, yeah, there it is. So it was called the Grande Capri. Grande, so grand with an E, Capri.
Yeah.
And I filmed a bit of the dashboard, and obviously I don't think it was a Ford bus. But then I realised, looking at the streets of Paris, which are still quite elegant but also dirty.
Let me take you by the man and lead you through the streets of Paris.
I was looking at all the cars because that's what we do, isn't it? Looking to see how shabby and unkept some of the cars are. And lo and behold, what did I see? Like the least Parisian car out there, a really clean, white, still with the hubcaps on, Mark IV Escort Gear.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really? I mean, a really tidy car in Paris is extraordinary.
I got video evidence of it, which I will share, from the front seat of the Grande Capri. And
now, wait a minute. Hang on. You're in France, so it's a Grande. Surely it's just Grande.
Oh, is it Grande? Okay.
Well, I would think so, unless there's an accent over it. And then Grand Capri, so big, large. A large Capri. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, go on. So
it's a large Capri. Well, maybe it was certainly larger than a Ford Capri because it had in excess of 24 seats in it.
But you saw a very tidy Escort. I
just thought that's so un-Parisian.
Yeah,
so
it really is.
Enough for me to get the camera out, which I did, and as you know, I got back nearly at midnight last night, so it was an in and out job in a day. Up at 5, home just before midnight. Of course, when I walked out of the station and into the car park where all the business people park, I got into my really official business, brand new, completely unladen transit van, which is what I've been tooling around in recently.
Oh.
I'm in the new Hacken Transit. Yeah, I've been looking forward to driving the new Transit.
Been looking forwards.
I've been looking forwards to the forwards. Do you know what, though? It's a bit infotainment-y inside for me, and certainly I think for a tradesman. But the fundamentals are good. It still drives so well. It still handles so well.
Has it got that foldy steering wheel that looks like it could be frightening if it went wrong.
Do you know what? I called over a friend of mine and said, these have got the steering wheels that turn into dining tables and offices. He went, what, really? And I took him down to where the car was parked, and I realised I don't think mine's been optioned with it. And he thought I was playing a practical joke on him, and I was like, no, I've seen it. They do this. So I need to speak to forwards and just make sure that it's so embarrassing.
Just like when a neighbour of ours, when I was growing up, they had their house. They were an older couple, and their house was very original, as in the houses were built in the 50s, and theirs still had, in the 80s and 90s, the parquet floors that would have been there when the house was built, which of course became unfashionable. Like now they've come back again, but at this point, bare wood parquet floors, and they had a lot of rugs.
Yes.
And he was talking about, he said, someone had said to him, they were having a drinks party or something, someone said, do the rugs not slide around on the floor? And he went, actually, no, they don't, you see, because they have these mats underneath, you see. And he went and he put his foot on this rug to show that if he slid his foot aggressively across it, that nothing would happen. And in fact, what happened was the rug and his leg shot across the floor. He sort of blundered around in a really undignified way, and then regained his composure, peeled the rug back and went, this one doesn't have one.
That's, to me, I can almost hear the groin strain from here.
I know, exactly. It's like an older gentleman, particularly. Goodness me. That may be permanent.
Oh, gosh.
Are you reviewing these? Is it for the Late Break Show?
Well, I'm slightly cross now because the steering wheel doesn't fold. So I'm going to probably borrow another one that does have a folding steering wheel.
Okay. Yeah.
But in first impressions are that it's still got all the if anyone's never driven a new Transit or newish Transit, or when listening to this podcast, you must do it. You know, these people say drive this car before you die. Well, honestly, drive a Transit before you die. An unladen, well kept Transit is not only quick, but it's the body control. It's the steering and the handling. It's so good. I drove back last night, quarter to midnight, totally deserted. And you could put it into a roundabout so fast and just position it so nicely. It's a genuine driver's car. It's bizarre.
You're doing some Tillermanship.
I was, but obviously from a higher seating position. And I did have some late night drum and bass on as well.
Did you?
Being quarter to midnight. Yes, I did.
That well-known aid to slow driving.
Yes,
D&B.
Exactly. Yeah, smooth radio was not required on that journey.
No. I haven't driven a Transit for ages, but I remember the last one that I drove was impressive and a lot of fun.
Yeah. They
Probably
are
more fun than a lot of cars.
They genuinely are fun, and I think in a world where, I might have said it in the last couple of weeks, I've borrowed a few forwards recently. Forwards. I've been disappointed by the Puma, and I was disappointed with the Raptor, in so much as the Raptor bits were just completely unnecessary, but the actual pickup is a good pickup, the Ranger. And I genuinely think that Ford have just stopped caring about passenger cars. Their strong point's still the commercial vehicles, and I'm a bit sad about it.
Well, it's because they make money, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
where that's the profit centre of the business.
Is the profit centre of the business? I would imagine. I haven't looked
recently, but
yeah.
We haven't really mentioned that you were driving that Ranger Raptor when you came and stayed at my house, and then when we were out and about at that place, and I moved it, I noticed the thing that you'd not mentioned to me, but that it sounds like an old Granada 2.8.
Oh, I mean, like you wouldn't know.
It's really odd, isn't it? I don't know how they've done it.
It's the macho pickup, right? The Raptor. It's supposed to be. I mean, it is fast, and it's got a 10-speed gearbox, which I'm still not convinced about. It's just too many gears. But yeah, when you pull away, it does just sound like my dad's or someone's uncle's Granada 2.8. It's spooky. It just sounds 80s. Sounds really 80s.
Is it the bass? Part of it is the bassiness. There's a bass to it.
Yes. And because it's an auto, of course, and most Granadas were, certainly in the UK. It's just that.
But that's it. Although it has 10 gears, it has the sort of certainly at low speed, it has the kind of slurry laziness of a 3-speeder from an old Granada.
It really does. It's like someone.
I don't mean that as a criticism, but it's just interesting.
It's like someone at Ford R&D has gone, let's just make this sound like an 80s executive saloon. And they really have, honestly. It's like, yeah. So there we go. And bugger me, that car's thirsty. But it doesn't help that it's on jumping suspension and like the most knobbly of all-terrain tyres and stuff. Yeah.
Is it? I mean,
I was trying
not get too bogged down in it, but how thirsty?
It doesn't matter how I drove it. I got 20 to the gallon. It genuinely does
20?
Not. 20 does not. I mean, that was unladen, one person, me, and that was driving really carefully everywhere.
Crikey.
So I thought, well, this is boring. So I drove it a little bit harder, and I got 19.8. So it's like, okay, so this doesn't matter, does it? I can just do whatever I want to do with this. And it's a 20.
I suppose those tyres don't help, do they? Because there's a lot of friction coming from those big knobbly tyres.
Yeah. But I do think... And all that. Exactly, mate. Exactly. But it done half look good, innit? I got so many looks off the lads and all that.
Yeah. off the lads. Mate.
Look at that. Oh, mate. Oh, that looks the law, that does. Look at that. That looks the law.
Oh, I'll tell you what, mate.
Tell you what. Yeah.
Mate. This is it, mate. Innit, mate?
There was... Honestly, there was a lot of that. Seriously, mate. Not being funny, but... Oh, look at that.
Mate. Can I just do a little? I'll just do a little throwback to last week before I forget. From a listener, in fact, a patron, who's asked not to be named, but does work in the hotel industry, I would gather.
Okay.
Says, I can help with the hotel staff question. This was last week because we were talking about when you stay in a hotel and it feels like the personal reception is always there. And be working like a 36-hour shift, and that feels illegal. Well, this anonymous patron says working time regulations mean that technically you should have 11 hours rest in between shifts. However, this can also be compensated for within a 24-hour period. So if someone finished their hotel shift at 11 p.m. and started at 8 a.m., for example, they have had 9 hours rest. They are due 2 more compensatory hours added to their next 11. So let's say they finish at 4 p.m. The earliest they could work the following day would be 5 a.m. Lots of hotel team like it, as it condenses hours into a short period.
Right, that explains it. Okay.
That explains it. Now, they also go on to say, the iPad car reg thing, which is you were complaining about last week because you had an issue with it at a hotel.
I did.
It's because a lot of hotels have parking managed/monitored by a third party. The iPad is the third party's kit and puts the responsibility of you, the guest, to get your reg right, rather than having a member of the team put it in and make an error, causing a fine.
Right. So really I shouldn't have been cross with the lady.
Well, it's third party. One of Britain's favourite collectives, the third party parking industry.
Oh, it's awful. It's a savage industry. It's a really horrible savage industry. Yeah. Especially with electric cars, because nowadays I had this last week in a Ford Mach-E, which I'll say is probably the best electric car that nobody seems to buy. I think it's...
Oh, yeah?
I think it's fantastic. The range is phenomenal. And I have driven one before. Yeah, range is absolutely phenomenal. Did over 300 miles. Just brilliant.
Have you...
Stunning thing.
They've fiddled with the suspension on that, haven't they?
Yeah, I think they have. I
heard this on the Autocar podcast.
Yeah,
and Steve and Matt on there were talking about it, and I'm sure they were saying that they've sort of sorted it out because it was not great originally.
I think it's an amazing product, but I think it's probably not getting the eyeballing that it deserves. But if anyone's in the market for an EV, do look and try a Mach-E, because whether or not you agree with the fact that it's got a horse on it and it's called what it's called, because people are still cross about that. It's the only Mustang, in fact, that doesn't crash coming out of a Cars and Coffee event. It's the only one.
No. Well, maybe that's why they're upset about it. This isn't a true Mustang. It completely retained control and didn't go into a telegraph pole or a Civic belonging to an innocent bystander.
Honestly,
slightly damp road in North Carolina.
I get sent these videos still on a weekly basis. How many hundreds of thousands of Mustangs have gone to a lovely little casual coffee morning. Obviously, being a coffee morning in America, it's at 4:45 a.m.
Yeah,
and it's like, why have these people never taken traction control? And the one time they decide to do it is when they're on full lock at a junction with a load of lads with phones.
Yeah,
and they just haven't worked out what's going to happen. It's bewildering.
It is. But then, do you think that's how Mustangs are now advertised in the US? You know, sort of sometimes in UK car ads you get never raced or rallied.
Yes.
But in a Mustang ad in the US, it would be a real selling point to say never taken to a Cars and Coffee.
Oh yeah,
so
they could.
That know.
That's right. And the owner says, "I don't even drink coffee. Just as non,
Yeah,
not non-smoker, no pets, not a coffee drinker."
I'm really bad in mornings, so I could never go to a Cars and Coffee because I simply couldn't get up at 3 a.m. to make it.
Yeah.
I strictly get up after 8 o'clock, and of course they're all done by then, as you know.
Oh, they're all having Sunday lunch by then. 8 a.m. They're like, oh, it's about time to get the old roast potatoes on, isn't it?
Yeah. Gotta go.
Transit, thumbs up. And Mustang Mach-E, definitely thumbs up. But the
thumbs up, or just leaning out of an open window shade, "Hey!" That's a sign of approval.
I do like a transit driving position, but there is too much touchscreeniness going on, which I worry about with tradesman's fingers or a gloved hand. I don't think it's going to work.
A gloved hand, yeah.
So I think there might be a boo-boo going on there, but we'll see. I know we talked about it when we weren't recording a podcast amongst ourselves. George Clark, the endlessly enthusiastic architect off of the north.
Yes.
And
of the northeast.
Off of the northeast, but I think he lives in London these days.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I think it was a follower of ours on our Smith and Sniff Instagram who said, "What about George Clark's Amazing Espaces, where he travels Europe, taking in the majesty of the original people carrier."
Ooh, it's a V6.
That's right.
See those very often now.
This is the early model with the YI. It's got the composite panels, and this one's got unmolested.
Does
fabric.
George Clark ever say YI?
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. George Clark's Amazing Espaces, and I thought I could actually see that. Like him going round in a top spec latest one, which would have been gifted to him by Renault, and then but he'd go and see people who had dyed in the wool Espas people, who have maybe done some choice modifications and have got interesting spectacles on and clothes. But then you countered it when I messaged you. You countered it with another George Clark automotive opportunity, and yours was
George Clark's Amazing Space Wagons.
Brilliant.
George tours the world looking for 80s and 90s Mitsubishi people carriers that haven't rotted to nothing. And he's always, the third row is still intact there. That's a beautiful thing to see. And so it goes on.
That's right. So we start the show here where we're going to go on a tip run. So I'm going to put all the seats down and got a load of children's toys and broken bicycles to put in here.
Yeah. That's funny enough. When I was a early teenager, we went to New Zealand as a family.
I thought you were going to say we went to the tip. And I was
we did that as well.
This is a fun conversation.
Slightly less memorable anecdote.
You went to New Zealand?
Have now. Yeah, we went to New Zealand. It was an incredible trip, but because we have like family and friends sort of all around the world, we did this trip. We went to New Zealand and Australia, and we got to New Zealand.
I've still never been. How dare you?
It's the only time I have ever been.
You've never been since?
No.
Oh,
no,
wow.
I've never been as an adult, which I'd love to go. But you always go, I'd love to go. But then you sort of go, it's very far. We've got to better roll it into some other things. And
Rich, we should do that between you and me.
Because I think you get quite a lot of interesting cars out there. But anyway, we So we fetched up at Auckland Airport, and because we were away for like 3 weeks, I think, and going to Australia and then on to Singapore, I think we stopped at on the way home. And
you're even saying it with an upturned intonation at the end. So
I know
already.
Am I? Yeah. Story about going to. So we were fetched up at Auckland Airport, and I think they gave us like a Corolla Saloon as a hire car, and we just couldn't get. We had 2 suitcases, just couldn't get them in the boot. And so my parents went back into the hire car office and went, "Look, really sorry, but they won't fit in. Have you got any kind of sort of different kind of car that might have a different sized boot?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, we've got this," and brought round a Mitsubishi Space Wagon, the original shapes. Sometimes also, I think might have been called a Chariot over there.
Yes,
I like really sort of square one.
Did it have a quad? Did it have quad headlights, or did it have big oblongs?
No, like square. I think square, slightly raked back headlights.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah, nice.
And this was the most amazing thing that we had ever seen, because it was a 3-row car. I'd never been in a 3-row car before, and so we folded the 3rd row of seats down, suitcases fitted, plenty of space, headed off, got to wherever we were going, hotel or whatever, on our way down to visit the people we knew in Wellington. But then once we'd checked into wherever we were staying, or staying with whoever we were staying, meant the boot was empty, 3rd row back up, my brother and me riding around everywhere in the 3rd row just because we could.
Yes.
Amazing. I don't remember an awful lot about New Zealand, but I do remember that.
So you remember more a Japanese car than actual New Zealand? Well, I would say let's. I think we should get. We have talked about it. We should try and work it so that we can go over to there and make some content, as they say.
Content.
And,
yeah.
But of course, if we were in New Zealand, we'd have to be Smuff and Snuff, wouldn't we? We'd have to. Wouldn't we have to slightly rebrand? We'll do some limited edition garments, T-shirts. I think that.
I'm not doing the accent. I'm not, because I can't really do it. It's a very hard accent to do. I think.
It's very
also
hard.
If we're going, we should go and visit New Zealand. Now let's do a low quality facsimile of the way you people speak. Is not going to get you a warm welcome at Auckland International.
It's
arrivals.
all meant in warm jest. Okay. All right. Anyway, my son dropped his phone in a river this week. and he's really upset about it.
Well, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
But no, we have to rewind, because you never finished saying about why you were carrying the Car of the Year trophy in a Pelly case.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering whether you'd ask me that.
Well, I was going to, but we somehow veered off topic.
We talked about hacking transits. So I went out there on a job to look at a new Renault, sort of Renault Group vehicle, and Renault's just won European Car of the Year for their Scenic, and this is really cool because Renault are doing great things right now. They've properly got their mojo, just as a lot of German manufacturers, I think, have lost their mojo somewhat, and I'm going to name check Mercedes and Audi as 2 of them.
I was thinking about this the other day, and I think, in general, the German car industry has royally screwed up electric cars.
Yeah.
Those Mercedes EQs seem to be generally disappointing.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I haven't, since the original EQC, which I thought was very disappointing. I haven't driven one, but all the reviews and everything, they don't seem to hit the spot.
It's tepid. They're all tepid.
And those 2 saloons, just the bar of soapy styling as well, which I don't particularly enjoy.
No.
So they've sort of, Merc have kind of screwed it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, VW, the whole ID debacle, awful interfaces, and generally sort of, again, disappointing.
Yeah.
And Audi, those e-trons.
The problem with Audis is they don't do a good electric car apart from the e-tron GT. All the others are sort of the cars which don't do anything very well. They're not good electric cars. They're not very roomy. They're too heavy. They're not stylish because they all look the same. And they're all expensive.
But then you get to BMW. Now, BMW screwed up in a different way.
Yes.
Because they came up with the i3, which was great, but it was almost too far ahead of its time and too sophisticated.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty certain they didn't make any money on it. And then they killed it off just as it was starting to sort of get more in tune with the world around it.
Yeah. And they didn't. I was going to say face or tech lift it. They didn't move it on a notch by saying we're going to re-release the i3 like you would, and sell it to all the existing i3 people. They've gone, no, we'll just get rid of it, and we're doing iX3 and a iX.
Yeah, and they just. But someone told me, and I don't know if this is true. Somebody said that one of the problems they had with the i3 and the i8 was that they were so futuristic looking that when they put them in adverts, people assumed they were concept cars.
Oh my gosh!
And didn't think they would actually be able to buy one. No matter how much they put in the blurb, oh, by the way, starts at $39,995.
Well, this is where...
They ignored that. They just saw the cars and went, bloody hell, look at that. Imagine being able to buy one of those, eh? Not likely. And then, so early demand for those cars was perhaps not as much as it could have been because people just didn't believe that they were actually in showrooms.
Well, that's where you need to employ an agency like Volkswagen did in the 60s, who were just absolutely on point at getting things across and being maybe self-deprecating and it paying off brilliantly. Those old Beetle adverts from the 60s, I've got a whole book all about it. They were just phenomenal. And this brings me on to something else, which might be slightly middle-aged rant. I've realised now for some years that no car manufacturer does a good TV advert anymore, and hasn't for some time. Like, we used to talk about car TV adverts. They used to be really good. And they used to plant that seed of aspiration.
Are there adverts for cars on TV? Because I'll be honest, I watch so little of what people now call linear TV that I haven't really noticed.
Oh, how dare
I see car ads on YouTube.
There are still traditional car TV adverts. It's just that they don't tell you anything about the car.
Yes.
They just tell you about the lifestyle that you might have if you have the car. And it's like, don't tell me about my fucking lifestyle. Tell me about the car. I know what my lifestyle is.
I assume that the TV ads will be the same, or, will be different cuts of the same ads that are on YouTube and socials generally.
And all that.
And I always just think they're all very moodily lit and tell you nothing. And there's no humour anymore. They're all very po-faced and rather drab.
And just totally unrealistic, like people driving electric cars through completely deserted cities. It's like, well, if only a city was like that, but it's not.
That is a bit of a trope, isn't it? Well, I suppose it probably always was.
Yeah, but like, you can be... Creativity is the lifeblood of this sort of industry, and it's gone. I think it's largely gone, and it's all the best creativity is on social media. There's people doing some genius stuff here and there on TikTok and Instagram and stuff, but it's like, employ those people to like come up with a good ad campaign for a car. Because actually, when I see a new car advert, I want to know about the car. I mean, it sounds bonkers, but you should be educating and inspiring people. I suppose the assumption is that in the internet age, if you want to know about the car, you have the tools at your disposal to do the research. Although, if we're having middle-aged man rants, car company websites are absolute dog shit these days if you want anything more than superficial information and a load of slogans about the kind of lifestyle you could have somehow being driven around by a very thin woman in a white dress. Yeah. I mean, exactly. They're just, if you go, and obviously in our job, sometimes you do need to find out this information. If it's not in the press pack, you go, oh, maybe, I just want to find out what the wheelbase sizes will be on the website. And then you really struggle. You do? Oh, yeah, wheelbase. Yeah, just go, almost impossible. I just want basic dimensions. Like, for example, my auntie, bless her, who has historically always bought a car on the basis that it can fit in her garage. She's one of maybe only 12 people left in the United Kingdom who put a car in a garage every day. Yes. But to her, it's a big deal. It's like, I want a new car, but I want to make sure I can get in and out of it in my garage. So she narrows that choice down. And she said couldn't find... She had to go into dealers and measure cars. Like with an actual tape measure. It's just great. It's just great. Come on, guys, get the basics right. Yeah? Come on. Do this. Now, listen. Can we have a moment of silence, please? Yeah. Because my Panda has gone. As of last week, I have passed custodianship of that
fucking car onto somebody else, but not before it decided to punish me one final time.
Oh, no. Really?
By not starting.
It didn't start.
Right. I was talking about how the battery went, got it running again, and then you were saying, well, you could just roll it down your drive and bump start it if it goes again.
Yeah.
So I had a little drive around in it. It seemed to be going okay. I parked it at the very top of my drive.
Which is steep.
As we've established, is quite steep.
Yeah.
And in fact, then, parked in front of it was our E-up. I just needed to move the E-up a bit forward so I could get the bin out. So I just snicked it into neutral, took the handbrake off. I was quite alarmed by how much it set off like a bastard.
Oh, yeah.
And this was only a few days ago. So I thought, and I was like, oh, well, that's okay then. So if I do need to roll the Panda down and bump start it, I'm going to have loads of momentum. This should be a piece of piss, but it'll be fine anyway. It's running now. Went to start the Panda, and of course the braking thing had died. It's like, right, no problem. I cleared the other cars, so you can get 3 cars squeezed onto our drive. So I got the other 2 out of the way. Here we go. Second gear. Keys ready in the ignition.
Yeah.
Contact. Here we go. It sets off like a bastard. Clutch up, twist, go, blah, 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 blah. And then suddenly I was like, oh God, we're getting near the end of the drive, and you cannot see for sure if there's not like a child coming or something. So I have to stop before the end. But
that's
of course,
what I was thinking.
I'm braking au naturel. There's no servo because there's no engine running. So suddenly I'm on the brakes and the brakes are not good. And I came to a hole with the front just over the lip of the drive where it meets the pavement. Just. And I was like, fuck, that was actually a little more exciting. And of course, I'm now sitting in a car that's not running. So I was like, I lent my jump leads to someone years ago and I've never had them back.
Oh, that's awful.
I've got a little booster pack, but that didn't work.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'll call the breakdown.
You're doing really well. Next time I do a barn find on the late break show, I'll give you a call. Is that all right?
Yeah, you should do. Because really, maybe I'll set up a rival where it's just a man with very little mechanical aptitude tries to get cars running and just ends up like accidentally drinking petrol.
And ideally, can you turn up wearing clothes that you've had to hurriedly throw on? You know, when the bin men arrive and you're about to get in the shower. So you've just gone, quick, put the bin out. So you've just got like mismatched, creased.
Yeah, you're wearing a pair of tracky bottoms backwards with a pair of with the shoes you got married in. Do you know what? I think I used to do more stuff to cars when I was younger because you sort of have to, don't you? You can't afford to just be like constantly going to a garage or calling people in or whatever.
Yeah,
and I feel like I've just lost any. Because I thought, like, I did think after it wouldn't start the other week, I was like, I should just change the battery. And the thought of going and buying a battery and having to find the right tools and do it, I just went, oh, fuck it, I'm sure it'll be okay. But it's just, in the past, that I'd have changed the battery like that, because it would just been like, well, that's what you do.
Yeah.
As simple as changing a light bulb.
Yeah.
And I don't know. The thought of doing it, I just went, ugh.
Well, in all seriousness, if you ever want me to run through some basics with you, I mean, to get and I don't mean this in a condescending way. I mean this as in sometimes you just need a little bit. It's to get your mojo back, to remind yourself, I can do this.
It's the mojo.
I can do this.
It's the mojo. I'm the same with DIY. Sometimes I'll go, oh, I'll do this, and I go, no, I won't, because I'll fuck it up. So
you taught yourself out of it. I just
put things off. Yeah, I do. And it's like, I used to put up shelves and all sorts of shit when I was younger, and I had the mojo. But that's the thing.
You can do this, Rich. I'll put something on your drive next week to get cracking on. I've got my eye on.
Please do.
I've got my eye on a Citroen SM, a really cheap.
Citroen
SM.
Oh yes, I'd love to try and get a Citroen SM going on a very sloping driveway
with basic tools from like a cracker.
So the Panda, it started running, and then, but again, classic thing, absolute fuckwittery. It was the day that the chap was coming to look at it. So this guy called Miles, hello Miles, he's a listener, but he's also, he works for Evo's publisher. And we've been talking for ages, and he is a panderist, as in he has a normal Panda, loves pandas.
Okay.
Wanted to upgrade to 100 horsepower. And he heard me saying, thinking of selling the Panda, and sent me an email. And we've been talking for weeks and trying to find a time when he could come over. He was dead keen. He knows the history of the car. He knows that it's Trigger's broom. And that didn't really seemed to put him off. So we finally got a time in. He's going to come over with his dad, and if all's good, he'll go off in the Panda. So, I'd spent that day polishing it, I'd hoovered it out, I'd done all sorts to make it as nice as I could.
But not charge the battery.
The day that he was due to come over, not charge the battery. Well, that's the thing. When I got it running the other week, I was like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I drive it every couple of days at least. But then I forgot I was kind of like away in London and stuff, and that didn't happen. So it's my own stupid fault. So the day that Miles was coming over, I did the driveway stunt show, didn't work out, got it started, took it for a drive, but I was also like, oh, great, I know what time he's coming. I've got a couple of other things I need to do. I'll just head back home. So I didn't drive it for long enough.
Driveway stunt show. I've got this vision now in my head.
Well, because you could put a ramp at the bottom, I reckon.
Yeah, you
make
could.
It really interesting for the neighbours. But
I have to say, when you mentioned about doing the bump start, I did think to myself, you don't know if someone's going to be walking past your drive. It could be a child running for school.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I thought of all sorts of things. I thought, well, hang on, what if I put the bins, if I laid both wheelie bins down to create a barrier then? I would just, no.
Stop.
So, anyway, the day that Miles was coming to look at the Panda, I didn't drive it for long enough, so I got home, stuck it back on the drive, and then I thought, oh, he's going to be here in 20 minutes. Maybe I'll just go. I just went out, and it was dead. And then he arrived. On a really damp day as well. I had to go, hi, welcome. Now I've got some bad news. It won't start. So
this is pathetic.
Bless him and his dad. We got it out onto the road, and I said to him, "Do you want to do the honours and sit in?" Because it was raining. He went, "No, go on, you do it. I'll push with my dad."
Oh my gosh, Rich! The guy's come to buy a car, and you're pushing it down the road.
I know.
Oh,
it was deeply embarrassing.
All you needed was an extension lead and a trickle charger. That's all you needed.
I don't have a trickle charger, and I didn't.
They're like £20.
Anyway.
20.
I know, but I didn't have one. It was Bank Holiday Monday. I would have to have driven to. I mean, I suppose the Halfords in Bristol would have been open, but I didn't. Well,
that's the journey you needed to make to charge the effing battery.
I know this now.
Bloody
anyway.
hell.
So we pushed it down the street. During the pushing of it, Miles tripped over and fell into the gutter and got his trousers really dirty. So it's like I'm making his day demonstrably worse.
He still bought the car.
Then I couldn't get it going, and we got to there's a speed bump further down the road. So we all had to push it over the speed bump, and then the road starts to drop down. And with a bit of a drop down, that was enough momentum to get it started. Got it started. Brought it back round to my house.
This is so unsexy.
Miles took it for a test drive. Now, he's coming from a standard Panda.
Yeah.
So he's, the 100 horsepower, he's kind of impressed by this. Like he said, the seats felt better. He was really impressed that it's got a height adjustable driver's seat because the basic one doesn't. So he's coming at it from a lower order Panda. So he thought that the 100 horsepower felt great. And we did the deal there on the spot. Money into my account. He's got your money into his account. It's like, right, yes,
I'm giving you some money. I don't want it on the
do you know what?
Today.
I was so fucked off when it wouldn't start again. I messaged my wife because she was out. She'd taken the kids out somewhere, and I messaged her and went, "It won't start again." And she's like, "You are joking." I went, "I'm actually going to start crying." And she went, "I already am." And I was like, she's like, she's mentally prepared that car was gone from our driveway, and. It was only when I went to cancel the insurance I remembered that she was insured on it the whole time and she could have driven it. She's never even sat in that car. So
you shouldn't have told all the problems, because next time you buy a car on a whim, which is going to be exciting, because it always is, she's going to go, don't do it. Remember what happened with the Panda? You hated it and you did nothing with it. You didn't even charge the battery.
No, in fairness, I loved that Panda at first. It was almost like It was this scruffy little mongrel, and what I did was try and turn it into a Crufts winner, and really I shouldn't have done, because it was probably fine as it was. But it did need some work on it.
An engine.
That work just seemed to never stop.
An engine.
Anyway, the irony, yes, the engine and all the other bits. The
flute. Complete flute.
I was completely open with Miles. He knows what's been done to this car, and I did say to him, look, because he offered me some money for it, and I went, I think that is a fair price. I'm not going to ask you for any more. What you are buying is a set of brand new OEM tyres with a slightly bonky Panda attached to them. because that's what it is in truth. It's got great tyres on it because they're almost new.
Did you sell it for a massive loss?
No. Well, yes, obviously I did. I mean, I sold it for...
No, yes. I love the answer.
Like, on paper, if you were doing some creative accounting, you'd go, oh, well done, Rich, that's pretty much what you paid for it. But then you'd look at all of the... And I even went to the trouble of printing out some of the receipts from the garage that they'd emailed to me, just so that Miles had a little stack of paperwork, because I like a stack of paperwork.
No, that's good.
That's might as well.
No, that's cool. I like that.
But mainly, I think he would get back to where he lives, which is quite far from here, actually. He had a long drive back, and he'd be able to then sit with a glass of something chilled and celebrate his new car whilst looking through the enormous amount of money that I've spent on it, and which I'm never seeing back. So,
well, I think you saved it, and I think he's the right man for it. Can we give him? Should we say, Miles, thank you, thanks for doing this.
It's my belief that the Panda and I had just fallen out, and it was trying to spite me because Miles drove it. I think it was going to take him 4 hours to get back to where he lived.
Oh, he would have charged the damn battery
with his dad. By the way, Miles and his dad are kind of people. They showed up in his dad's Alpha Spider from the 60s.
Oh, what a lovely, exquisite 60s motor vehicle. So nice.
It was, his dad said, I checked the weather forecast, it actually looked all right today. And then it was one of those days we've been having where it's sort of, the sun would come out, and then in the time it takes to go, the sun, biblical rain came down. And he'd still plugged on in this beautiful old Alpha. And he was going to be the wingman for getting the Panda home again. And it's like, wow. Does that say something about the Panda that a 60s Alpha Spider might be more dependable? But no.
In the rain.
Miles messaged me in the evening. He made it home, no problems at all. And he said even when he shut it off, it started up again, no problem. So that was all good. And I haven't heard since, which I'm going to say is good.
Well done to 60s Alpha Dad.
Yeah, lovely people. Thank you for buying my car, and thank you for coming over, and it was nice to meet you.
Sweet guys.
But it was all cowering in the Panda, all three of us, in absolutely slashing rain.
Oh gosh,
doing the paperwork and stuff.
Can you promise me that you'll never sell a car knowingly with a flat battery again? It's making me
knowingly. It's
making my skin crawl.
It wasn't. I knew you'd be cross with me about this.
It's just such a simple thing. I mean, I charge batteries on my car periodically, even if I'm not selling them, just so I know they're on the button.
I know. Car batteries.
They're hell.
Life.
They're at their hell.
And we haven't even got onto the Range Rover yet. I haven't. It's not for today, but the Range Rover saga, because I keep saying to people, I've got to sort out my Range Rover, and they go, oh, I thought you sold it. No.
I think we save this one for next week, but all I'm going to say is, in between now and next week, can you try and sell it to Clarkson?
He's already got one.
I know he's already got one, but he's got a whole farm, and what farmers do is they buy more vehicles and then they just dump them, 12 acres away from their house, and go, oh yeah. I forgot I had this.
Do you know what? I was up at the farm a few weeks ago for a meeting, and there are a lot of cars parked out the back, and I was like, whose are all these cars? Like, I know there are other people work on the farm, but not that many. There were a mysterious number of cars. There is, funny enough, I know that one of the people who works within the, one of the people who makes the TV show, has got a car that he started just leaving at Jeremy's farm. He just went, oh, Jeremy, do you mind if I just leave this car here for a bit? And Jeremy's like, go if you want. And
that's dangerous. That's dangerous doing that. Because Jeremy will wake up one day in a bad mood or bulldoze it, won't he?
No, Jeremy went, I think he's not told his wife about that car because he's very keen to always leave it at my farm.
Oh, gosh.
That might be why. So maybe that's what I need to do. If I make another whim purchase, I'll just go, Jeremy, could I leave this Citroen SM that I can't get running? Could I have it trailered to your farm 2 hours from where I need it?
Citroen SM, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And if you ever see my wife, don't mention it. I don't know. Anyway, there we go. So, let's just pour one out for the Panda. Bless it. They are great little cars. I just think I didn't buy the best example and had to spend a lot of time and money trying to make it better. I think it probably now, what else could go wrong?
I think you spent a lot of money and time creating a reasonable example of the mark, would it be fair to say?
Yeah. I think, as somebody's grandmother probably always says, buy cheap, buy twice.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right.
And on that Jerry Springer thought for the day, it's probably time to bring this one into land. But before we do...
Oh, yeah.
We
were going to talk about the new 911, but we talked about George Clark's Amazing Espaces instead. Oh well.
Well, it's a hybrid if you buy the GTS, weirdly, but not the Carrera. There's no Carrera S at the moment. I don't really know what's going on there, but slightly confusing range structure because the GTS usually comes later, doesn't it?
Yeah, anyway. it's a 3.6, the GTS, but it's a hybrid now. It's the first 911 hybrid.
Yes, but not a hybrid that can ever drive itself on electric power alone.
So like my Insight.
Yes, but a bit faster.
Yes. Yes.
It's interesting. I've reserved judgment until I've had a go in it. The one thing that caught my eye is that now on the Carrera and the GTS, or Carrera GTS is supposed to be, the back seats are now a no-cost option.
Yeah, I saw this. Is it £800? Oh, sorry.
No cost means...
They're free. Sorry. There's another thing that's really like essential, and it was £800, and I thought
doors.
Yeah, I can't remember. It was something. I'll have to look it up now because he's caught me off guard. But I remember going, oh, interesting that the seats are. I mean, I like the idea of no cost options because it allows people to just be a bit free fall and just if they go, do you know, I don't care about seats anymore. Just you can have them.
For normal 911s, so ones that go around in the Carrera badge, I always think part of their brilliance is the back seats if you have small children. Now, I appreciate not everyone does.
Yeah.
But it does make it... I mean, I've had 4 adults. I had 4 adults in my old 911 for a shortish journey where we all just needed to get somewhere.
Yeah.
And it was fine. And that sort of extra usability, it's really handy. Every now and again. I wonder if the dealers are going to be briefed to go, do you want the back seats, and make a point of it? Because if you just very casually ordered one without realising you have to tick the box that says, yes, put the back seats in, it would show up.
Yeah, that's true. You'd be pissed off, wouldn't you, if you forgot to order
previously,
them.
The Carrera T was the one where you had to say, yes, I do want the back seats, and otherwise it didn't have them.
Yeah.
And the Carrera Ts have always been brilliant in my book. And I every so often play Fantasy 911 browsing the Piston Heads Classifieds and Auto Trader and stuff. And I always go down and looking at sort of my dream spec Carrera T and then discovering it hasn't got back seats. And I realise it's not my dream spec because I'd like the back seats. I don't buy that sort of weight saving.
But you just buy the perfect condition car for the right money and just find a back seat. Can't be that hard.
Are you sure?
Yeah, well, unless you've ordered it in like, I don't know, some sort of like limited edition cheesecloth, then I think it's going to be pretty easy, I'm sure.
I probably would. I don't know. Anyway, I think the reason is that with the new 992.2 facelift, that they can quote a headline weight figure, something like 10 kilos less with no back seats, which sort of offsets in the GTS some of the extra weight of the hybrid system, which is not actually a lot.
It's got a 1.9 kilowatt hour battery, which is teeny, and it's in the position where the traditional 12-volt battery is normally installed on a 911.
Yes, so under the front.
You can't drive it EV only, and it's not manual, it's P2K only, is that right?
Yeah, it's only because that whole hybrid system is integrated into the P2K system. And it does have this really tricksy electric turbo, though, where then, even under hard acceleration, it can be putting power back into the battery. Yeah,
as an engineering thing, this sounds brilliant. I mean, I remember when I was at Rimac and I was interviewing Mate Rimac for a sit-down brown chairs chat for the Late Break Show. He was showing me around their laboratory and he pointed at some sort of generic looking battery boxes and things. He went, yeah, I can't really talk about that, but that's for the new hybrid 911. I'm like, is it? Okay, cool. And that was, 2.5 years ago? Might have been more. I don't even know.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've been working on this for ages. And they're claiming some of the tech comes from the Le Mans cars and stuff as well. Although they have.
We'll find out. We'll find out soon. Well, look, we can ask them more questions, and I'm
yeah,
really
I
keen
do
to
have
try
more
this
questions. Intrigued to try it just to see what it's like. Because if anyone's going to make a nice job of it, you'd hope it'd be Porsche. They've got a pretty good track record in making cars that are nice to drive and outright. Anyway, there we go. We have done the new 911 now, so we can tick that
just
off.
snuck
but
it in, didn't
nobody
we?
comes here for the car chat, do they?
No.
Or at least we don't think so.
No, they don't. No.
All right. Before we go, I have 3 things to tell you. They are 1, Johnny has a solo YouTube channel. It's called The Annihilate Bay Show, in which he will not rest until he's rained vengeance down upon the director of those shitty Transformers films. If that's not to your taste, there's always The Late Break Show. Lots of excellent car videos on there. What have we got this week?
That's a really good question. That's
some old shit.
Well, if you haven't watched, the brand new old Land Cruiser one, watch that. If you haven't watched
I have watched that.
Escort Cosworth camper van, that you should watch that because that's fun.
I haven't watched that yet. Sorry.
Oh, I know. It's a barn find this weekend. It's a sweet.
Am I in it, making an absolute cock of changing a battery and electrocuting myself?
That's right. You turn up in a linen suit shirt and some damaged gym shorts.
Because I thought you were the bin man pulling up. You collected me for this one in a bin lorry, and it threw me off, and I ran out wearing a pair of my wife's workout shorts and a suit jacket with nothing under it, and a pair of enormous DMs, like the really tall ones like Elton John wore in the 70s. And there was no time for me to go back in and change. Sorry, I thought it was the bins.
And you've turned up, and in your breast pocket, you've just got one lonely, really soft metal screwdriver that you got free from a catalogue. And then you've got some jump leads which are about 2 mil thick. You think these are going to glow red.
They're also really, really short, like the cable is a foot long, and they're of no use to anybody.
Can you do this? I'd really like you to come on a
future barn fight, inept barn fight. We did one with Tavares, and he seemed quite helpful. So now you need someone who's going to be no help whatsoever.
I'd like you to turn up exactly as you've just described yourself, but also, can you just be a bit drinky? So you just turn up and you sit on my toolbox and you just crack open a bottle of rosé and just start pouring it out. Like we haven't even taken the plugs out yet. Let's not celebrate.
And then we get to the bit where you wash the car, and I decide to machine polish it, but forget to put the sponge head onto the so it just takes a big stripe of paint off the side of an exquisite Audi Quattro that's been tucked away for 27 years.
That's like Garth from Wayne's World, isn't it? When he's messing around with that air gun in the workshop.
Yes.
Oh gosh!
All right. Well, the second thing I've got to tell you is that this week, if you're listening to this on the Monday it comes out, we are live in London. On Thursday, in fact, Thursday the 6th of June, we're doing 2 live podcast recordings at the London Concourse, one at 2 p.m, one at 5 in the evening, with the usual sort of talking bobbins for an hour, and then we'll do some audience questions. And your ticket to our live show automatically gets you into the London Concourse show at any time during that day, so you can come and look at some lovely cars, drink some Pims, have a general dander around in the leafy confines of the Honourable Artillery Company. Is it leafy? There are some trees in there, I think.
It's beautiful. It's stunning. It's stunning.
An exquisite lawn in the heart of the city.
Oh, it's a really relaxing show. If you want to know more about the show, as in like what it looks like, go to londonconcourse.co.uk. But you get it, like Richard said, you get a free ticket if you want to turn up and listen to us two goons chatting bobbins.
So hopefully we'll see some of you on Thursday. Everyone else will be back on Friday with another episode of Autosot, our question answering spin-off show. And the third thing I've got to tell you is that Jimmy Nail's real name is James Bradford.
No way.
Yes. His stage name comes from the fact that when he worked at a glass factory, he accidentally stood on a 6-inch nail, punctured his foot. And after that, his nickname became Nail, and he decided to use Jimmy Nail as his stage name.
Well, that's quite cool. It's funny you should mention him, because he came into conversation, didn't he?
Yeah. It's quite fortunate that while working at the glass factory, he didn't just stand on a turd. Because then his stage name
Jimmy Dogsmith.
She's laying. Oh, that was Jimmy Turd there. It was number one hit.
Jimmy stood on. stood on a comedy banana skin. Oh, look, it's Jimmy Banana Skin. Who?
What?
What is this, Mario Kart? Yeah, it's Jimmy Tortoise Shoulder.
Good. All right. Well, that's that for this. Thank you ever so much for listening. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate. Cheers. Cheers, mate. Thanks, mate. Bye.
So you've enjoyed this podcast, but you've had a thought. Is there a way here today that you could show support? Well, you could join our Patreon. What wonders that it brings. Early shows and extra notes on that side of things. You could buy our merchandise. We've mugs and hats, but still no ties. One day we will make those pies, but in the meantime, guys, hey guys, like and subscribe, and maybe leave a nice review. Like and subscribe, we know you know just what to do. Like and subscribe, we don't want to take the piss. Like and subscribe, but we were told to ask for this. Like and subscribe,